She walked out the door. I knew it was coming. It should have happened long ago. For months, she'd been distant, annoyed, ambivalent, or confrontational. Nothing I did helped. The few good times we had were with friends, providing a distraction from our miserable lives. My name is Kurt Randolph, and she's my wife, Sue, at least for a while. I've already spoken to a divorce attorney. 26 years of marriage ends not with a bang but a whimper. I'll tell my son and daughters this weekend. I don't know where we went wrong. Most of our marriage was good. Not great, but good. Our children, Glenn, Julia, and Rachel, are healthy and well settled. 2 are still in college, and 1 graduated 6 months ago, possibly triggering our issues. The empty nest syndrome hit hard when our first child left for college. It changed her dramatically. No matter how much I hinted, wooed, or begged, things never improved. Lovemaking vanished from our lives, leading to heated arguments. Eventually, I gave up. Why seek closeness with someone who doesn't want it? Recently, she changed again, and not for the better. Now she's leaving, and it's hard to feel sad. I know she's going to a lover, some guy 10 years younger. I noticed the change months ago and asked around. I work 50, 60 hours a week at 3M in Aberdeen, South Dakota as a manufacturing engineer. It's a great job, but sometimes requires odd hours. Being on call posed challenges like missing weekend events. But the pay is good, and I prefer Aberdeen's small-town feel over big cities. We lived in St. Paul, Minnesota for several years. There, everyone knows everyone. After a week of asking, my best friend Paul confirmed my suspicions. "You were right, Kurt," he said. He told me Sue had been having lunch with a guy weekly for at least 3 months. Carol, her coworker and Paul's cousin, saw them. Sue works at Mid-States Printing Company as an administrative assistant. She's been there for 15 years. At 48, she still looks great, which likely attracted David Perkins, a salesman from Heartland Paper Mill. He's divorced with 2 kids and cheated on his wife. I doubt Sue is his only sufferer. Sue left for a spa weekend supposedly alone to escape our tension. I knew she was meeting him. 2 weeks ago, she took a day off to be with him. I followed her to the Holiday Inn and saw them together. That's when I contacted my divorce attorney. She'll get the summons on her resort weekend. I just need to call when the GPS tracker shows she's at her destination. Some might say I should have confronted her, but after 3 years of no closeness, you question if it's worth it. Maybe we'll both be happier apart. For her sake, I hope so. I've always been someone who finds happiness in any situation. Why dwell on the negative when there are good things every day? So I sit here with my phone, tracking her progress to meet her destiny.
I'm excited and a little anxious about going to Sioux Falls to spend the next 2 nights with David, my friend and lover. He understands me and listens without judgment or trying to fix my problems. He doesn't demand anything from me. Unlike my husband Kurt, there's no pressure, no expectations, no whining or pleading. Kurt just doesn't get it. As I go through changes, I don't want or need lovemaking like in my 20s. I need someone who listens and loves me for who I am. And David has been that person for the past 3 months. We started going out to lunch and talking. He made me feel special, like more than just a mom or an administrative assistant. 2 weeks ago, he asked if I could get away for an afternoon. He'd been hinting at a relationship, saying how he likes to pamper a woman. The attention and desire from someone 10 years younger made me wonder. I agreed to take Thursday off, and he booked a room at the Holiday Inn. I was nervous, but knew he cared about me. When I arrived, we talked for a while. He complimented me, saying, "Sue, you always look so good. I don't know how your boss gets any work done." I blushed and giggled. Then he kissed me, something Kurt hadn't done in years. Minutes later, we were on the bed. I wanted to get home before Kurt, so I showered and dressed quickly. "Do you think we could go away for the weekend?" David asked. "I can rent a riverside inn near Sioux Falls. We can enjoy the view, nature, and each other. The fall leaves are peaking." "That sounds nice, but I don't know what to tell my husband." "Tell him you're going on a spa weekend. Is he really such a horrible person that he would deny you a little vacation?" "I don't know if he'd even notice," I said, thinking about our deteriorating relationship. "Okay, I'll schedule it for 2 weeks, starting this Friday." "That sounds great, David. I love spending time with you," I said. "And I love spending time with you," he replied. I left, thinking we'd be together again in a couple of weeks. I drove home and arrived at the usual time. Kurt wasn't there. He always works late. I felt a little guilty walking through the door. This was our shared home. I saw a family picture over the fireplace and our wedding photo on the mantel. I stopped and thought, what have I done? Our relationship isn't great, but is that a reason to leave him? I can't do anything to make him suspicious. I changed into jeans and a t-shirt, then went to the kitchen to make one of his favorite dishes, stuffed pork chops and mashed potatoes.
I remember that day vividly. It was the final nail in our marriage's coffin. She stayed in the hotel room for over 3 hours. I knew what they were doing and it broke my heart. We hadn't had closeness in over 3 years. She didn't even want to kiss me anymore, saying, "It always leads to you wanting one thing." I barely got quick kisses, let alone hugs. After seeing her leave the hotel, I drove around, not wanting to go home in my emotional state. At 8:30, I pulled into our garage and sat for a minute. She opened the door from the kitchen to the garage as I was getting out. "What were you doing? Didn't you just pull in a couple of minutes ago?" she asked. "Talking on the phone," I lied. "I made dinner, but it's getting cold. You better call when you're going to be up this late," she said irritably. "Sorry, a problem came up at work. I may be staying late more often." That wasn't entirely a lie. I just didn't want to be around her. For the past 2 weeks, I'd been coming home late every night, and on weekends doing yard work and getting the house ready for winter. We were like roommates, but not for long. As soon as she reached her destination, I would call Tom Andrews, the sheriff. One of the benefits of living in a small town is knowing a lot of people. Tom and Marcia were friends. We often visited each other's homes. I had asked Tom a few days ago if he would serve the divorce papers on my wife. He was shocked until I explained. "I'm sorry to hear that, Kurt. You and Sue were together for a long time." "Yes, but we haven't been physically together for 3 years." 3 years? Wow. Now that you mention it, I noticed some tension between you two lately. Half of me wants to hurt her, but the other half says there's no point in wasting energy on someone who doesn't love you anymore. "I'm sorry, Kurt. When do you want her served?" "Saturday, I guess." "Friday. She's leaving for a spa weekend. I'll know where she's staying by tonight. I'll track her Yukon GPS. Sue's GPS stopped at a bed and breakfast. I called Tom. "What's up, Kurt?" "A little numb. I probably won't sleep much tonight. Probably even less than she did." "Don't beat yourself up, Kurt. You're doing something about it. Let the process take its course." 26 years, Tom. 26 years. "Yeah, that's tough. Are you sure you want me to file?" "We haven't felt like a couple in years. This puts things in perspective." "I'm sorry again, Kurt." "Thanks." I gave Tom the address of the bed and breakfast. He said he'd serve the divorce papers late tomorrow morning. My lawyer advised that without proof, we'd likely have to file for irreconcilable differences. But I wanted the papers to state I tried to file on the grounds of infidelity. I decided to wait until tomorrow to call the kids, to avoid them alerting their mom. Those calls would be the hardest. I had a restless night, getting only 2 hours of sleep. I kept thinking about Sue with this man and where our marriage went wrong. When we were younger, we couldn't wait to be together. Work was necessary, but my thoughts were always on coming home to her. When the kids came along, our priorities changed, but we were still a team. Now she had found another teammate. Our life together is over. This morning she will be served with a summons, and we will each have our own team, just on different sides of the courtroom. Me with my lawyer, her with hers, fighting for whatever remains of our life together. I lay on the bed, staring into space, not bothering to undress last night. I should get up, shower, and change into something presentable.
After a 3-hour drive from Aberdeen to Sioux Falls, I finally arrived at the hotel where David awaited me. Despite grabbing a quick snack en route, it was already a little after 9 o'clock when I pulled into the driveway. David's presence waiting for me instantly lifted my spirits. "I was starting to think you wouldn't make it. I was worried Kurt might stop you," he confessed as I stepped out of the car. "He doesn't control me. I've been counting down the days to this for 2 weeks, I reassured him with a smile. David suggested we socialize at the newly opened ice cream parlor before retrieving my belongings from the car, an idea I enthusiastically agreed to. Unlike my relationship with Kurt, David desired more than just physical closeness. His gestures and attentiveness conveyed a deeper connection. Our stay at the bed and breakfast was delightful, with picturesque views of the river from our room, especially enchanting in the fall light. The following morning, I awoke beside David, feeling rejuvenated after a restful night's sleep. Glancing at the clock, I realized we had missed breakfast. David, we should get up. Breakfast ends at 9 o'clock, I reminded him. Let's skip it and pick up where we left off last night, he suggested with a mischievous grin. If we're going to do that, I'll need a refresher, I replied coyly. As we indulged in each other's company, memories of my life with Kurt flooded my mind. The wedding, raising our children, and upcoming milestones like our son's wedding. But amidst the closeness with David, a sense of guilt gnawed at me. Later, when a sheriff unexpectedly arrived, serving me legal papers, my world was thrown into disarray. Kurt was described as broken and unable to communicate. Panic seized me as I frantically tried to reach him, only to be met with silence. Leaving David behind, I hastily departed, desperate to confront Kurt and make sense of the situation. Along the journey home, I was stopped for speeding, further adding to my distress. Despite the chaos, my determination to reach Kurt remained unwavering.
Tom's voice was steady over the phone. I just called. He confirmed she was with a guy, him undressed on the bed and her in a robe. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it, I replied numbly, my mind reeling from the news. Are you going to be okay? He asked, his concern palpable even through the phone. I don't know, Tom. I'll call Marcia to come over, I muttered, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I just need to be alone, I added, needing space to process everything. Okay, talk to you later, he said before we hung up. I turned off my phone and sat in silence, contemplating my marriage and the uncertain future ahead. An hour and a half later, I knew I had to tell the kids. How do I break the news? I wondered aloud. Turning my phone back on, I saw several voicemails from Sue, which I ignored for now. I dialed Glenn, my oldest son. Hi, Dad, Glenn answered cheerfully. Hey, Glenn, how's the new job? I asked, trying to ease into the conversation. Great, Dad. I love designing buildings. I'm glad. Listen, I have some news, I said, my voice trembling slightly. Are you okay? He asked, the concern in his voice mirroring Tom's. Physically, yes. Emotionally, no, I admitted. What do you mean? Glenn's tone shifted, sensing the gravity of the situation. Glenn, I'm divorcing your mother, I said bluntly. There was stunned silence on the other end. After a moment, he asked, What did she do? He had already guessed the truth. She chose someone else over me, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Really? How long has this been going on? He asked, his shock turning into disbelief. I think a few months, I answered, the reality of it settling in deeper. I'm sorry to hear that, Dad, he said softly. Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, I responded, feeling the weight of my words. What are you going to do? He asked, concern lacing his voice. I filed for divorce this morning, I informed him, my decision final. You don't think you can work it out? He asked hopefully. Glenn, if Janie cheated on you, what would you do? I countered. Janie was Glenn's steady girlfriend, and he was planning to propose to her on New Year's Eve. I'd throw her out, he said after a moment of thought. Please don't call your sisters. I want to tell them myself, I requested. I won't, Dad. I'll call you tonight to discuss it more, he promised. Thanks, Glenn. We'll get through this, I said, trying to reassure both him and myself. Dad, don't hate Mom for this. That's between her and you. She's still your mom, he advised gently. I don't know how much support I can give her, Glenn, I admitted, the pain still fresh. I know, but you have to try, he urged. Okay, Dad, she's still my mom. I love her even though I don't like what she did, he said, his voice firm. I understand, Glenn. I love her too, but I don't like her anymore, I confessed. I'm sorry, Dad. You don't deserve this, he said softly. Take care of yourself, son, I told him, the conversation drawing to a close. You too, Dad, he replied. Bye, I said, hanging up and staring into space. My phone rang, and I answered without thinking. Hello, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. There was silence. Then a voice said, Kurt, thanks for answering. We need to talk. It was Sue. I ended the conversation and turned off my phone. Someday I would need to talk to her, but not now.
As I finally reached Kurt on the phone, his abrupt hang-up left me stunned. The unexpected connection after numerous unanswered voicemails only heightened my anxiety. How could I articulate my thoughts and feelings in a mere apology? It seemed insufficient. I needed to gather my thoughts before attempting another conversation with him. Lost in contemplation, a sudden alert from my Yukon jolted me back to the present. Low fuel. This was uncharted territory for me, as Kurt always ensured the tank was filled. Desperate to remedy the situation, I located a nearby gas station, opting for convenience over brand recognition. Exiting the vehicle with debit card in hand, I soon encountered an unexpected obstacle: the gas tank cap on the opposite side. After a failed attempt, I sought assistance from the indifferent clerk inside, preoccupied with a daytime talk show drama. His nonchalant explanation regarding the gas tank door contrasted sharply with the intense emotions playing out on the television screen. Feeling defensive as the clerk criticized the woman's actions, I found myself empathizing with her need for validation and understanding. Returning to my task, I encountered further complications as my debit card refused authorization. Panic surged through me. Was Kurt behind this? Fortunately, an alternative card proved successful, albeit accompanied by a hint of suspicion from the clerk. Refueled and on the road again, the weight of my actions weighed heavily on my mind as I attempted to reach Kurt once more, only to be met with the impersonal embrace of his voicemail.
I didn't expect Sue on the other end. I thought it was Glenn. When she called, I checked her GPS. She was halfway back to Aberdeen. I found myself unable to face her. I packed a couple of bags, and in the living room I saw a family picture from happier times and our wedding photo. Anger surged through me, and I smashed the photo frame, cutting my knuckles in the process. I left my wedding ring on the mantel as a final gesture and drove off, planning to stay in a hotel. Once checked in, I called Julia, my second child. "Hi, Jules," I greeted her, my voice heavy with emotion. "Hi, Dad. How are you?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. "Not great. We need to talk." "What's wrong, Dad?" she inquired, anxiety creeping into her tone. "Your mom and I are getting a divorce," I revealed, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm not surprised. You and Mom have been fighting a lot. You weren't the parents I grew up with," she said, her voice a mix of sorrow and resignation. "It wasn't about you kids. It was between your mom and me," I clarified, wanting her to understand. "Have you tried counseling?" she suggested, a glimmer of hope in her voice. "It's too late for that now," I replied, my tone final. "Please think about it, Dad. Talk to someone before making any final decisions," she urged. "I'll think about it. I've already told Glenn. I'll call Rachel next." "Don't worry, Jules. I'll keep you updated," I reassured her. "Thanks, Dad. I love you," she said softly. "I love you too," I replied before hanging up. After the call ended, I broke down and cried for 10 minutes. 26 years of marriage, gone. Then I gathered myself and called Rachel. "Hey, Dad. I tried to call you, but your voicemail was full," Rachel said as she picked up. "Hi, Rachel," I greeted her. "Julia called. You're getting a divorce?" she asked, her voice steady but concerned. "Yes, I filed," I confirmed. "I'm not surprised. You and Mom stopped talking about anything other than bills and chores," she observed. "Wow, I didn't realize that," I admitted, feeling a pang of guilt. "Dad, we know you both love us. But if you don't love each other, you shouldn't stay together just for us," she advised wisely. "Thank you, Rachel. You made this decision easier. I love you," I told her, grateful for her understanding. "I love you too, Dad. I'll always support you," she assured me. "I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow," I said, feeling emotionally drained. I hung up and turned off my phone. I didn't feel like talking to anyone anymore.
As I pulled into the driveway, a sinking feeling enveloped me as I noticed Kurt's absence, a sight not entirely unexpected. Approaching the front door, its unusual unlocked state raised my suspicions. Perhaps Kurt was inside, his car safely parked in the garage. However, my calls into the empty house echoed back at me, amplifying the emptiness I felt. Surveying the familiar yet now unsettling surroundings, my eyes fell upon the family photo above the fireplace, a testament to happier times. But it was the sight of our wedding picture, shattered glass and Kurt's abandoned ring among the wreckage, that brought the harsh reality crashing down upon me. A jarring interruption came in the form of Julia's call. With a heavy heart, I answered, attempting to maintain composure amidst the turmoil. "Hi, Julia. How are you?" I greeted, the facade faltering. "Fine. Why?" Her response was curt, hinting at the weight of her father's words. "My dad called me," she divulged, her voice carrying the weight of the news. "And what did he say?" I inquired, bracing for the confirmation of my fears. "You're getting a divorce," she stated matter-of-factly. "We're not getting a divorce. It's just a misunderstanding," I asserted, though doubt gnawed at the edges of my conviction. The mention of divorce triggered a conversation about counseling, a suggestion I entertained with cautious optimism. Yet, the uncertainty surrounding Kurt's whereabouts cast a shadow over any potential resolution. As I searched our room, the disarray mirrored the chaos of my thoughts. Kurt's absence spoke volumes, leaving me grappling with the realization that our marriage hung precariously in the balance. In a bid for support, I reached out to Glenn and Rachel, their responses varying in degrees of resignation and resentment. Their reluctance to intervene underscored the gravity of the situation, leaving me to confront the stark reality of my fractured family. Alone in Julia's room, surrounded by the echoes of unanswered calls and unspoken words, I resigned myself to a sleepless night, clinging to the sliver of hope offered by Julia's tentative suggestion of counseling.
I wasn't hungry, but I hadn't eaten all day, so I ordered a pizza. I thought about what Rachel had said. We hadn't been close for the last 3 years. Menopause had caused a lot of issues. Her doctor recommended hormone therapy, but she refused. Even after Rachel was born, she didn't want to take birth control, so I used rubber bands. Later, I had a vasectomy to avoid wearing rubbers. When the pizza arrived, I ate while watching TV, though nothing was worth watching. My brain was too distracted. I hadn't slept much in 2 weeks, and was depressed. After the adrenaline of the day faded, I slept deeply until 11 o'clock Sunday morning. I showered, but didn't shave. While eating leftover pizza, I decided to call my kids. They were happy to hear from me and said Sue wanted me to call her. I decided today was the day. Unless something miraculous happened, I'd proceed with the divorce. I called Sue, and she answered on the first ring. "Oh, Kurt, thanks for calling. I want to apologize," Sue said. "The kids asked me to call you." "What do you need?" I said unemotionally. "I want to talk. Can we do that?" she asked. "We're talking now, so talk," I replied. "No, I mean face to face. Why don't you come home and we can sit down and talk?" Sue suggested. "Sure, I need to pick up a few things I left behind," I said, hinting at my feelings. "Can you come over at 2 o'clock? She asked, ignoring my comment. "Sure, and your lover will be gone by then," I added, twisting the knife. "Oh, Kurt, I'm sorry, but there's no one else. I'll see you at 2 o'clock, Sue said. I hung up. I wondered if anyone was there now. I decided to check. I drove by the house and saw no cars in the driveway, but maybe he parked in the garage. I parked on a neighboring street and watched for half an hour. No one came or went. She wasn't lying. I went back to the hotel, shaved, dressed in a nice suit, and put on aftershave. Let her see what she threw away.
Finally, he called me. He was brief and unemotional, but he would be here at 2 o'clock. I had to get ready. I decided to make a nice dinner so we could talk over a meal, and then I dressed nicely to show him what he was throwing away. I noticed he parked on the street instead of the driveway. As he walked up, I saw he was dressed well, unlike his usual weekend t-shirt and jeans. I greeted him at the door with a concerned smile. "Why did you park on the street?" "And thanks for coming over," I said nervously. "You're welcome. I wasn't sure if there was anyone parked in the garage who might need to get out," he replied, making me angry. His comment hurt, but I didn't react. I wanted this meeting to go smoothly. "Come in, I made dinner, everything is ready. Sit at the table," I invited. "I'm here to talk, not eat," Kurt stated. "Can't we do both? We can have a nice meal while discussing our problems," I suggested. "No, I'm not hungry. I have somewhere to go after this," he said. I knew he was lying, but didn't press it. "Oh, you can't cancel a date? Who is she?" I regretted it immediately. "I don't have a date. I don't go on dates when I'm married, unlike someone I know." He shot back, making me realize I had ruined the meeting. "I'm sorry, Kurt. My emotions took over," I apologized. "Did they take over Friday night and Saturday too?" he asked pointedly. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, Kurt. Please forgive me," I pleaded. "I don't think that will ever happen," he said. When I said that, her shoulders slumped. She probably thought she was defeated, but I was just getting started. "Well, you asked me to talk. Let's talk." I moved into the living room and sat down in a chair, with her sitting across from me on the couch. "Okay, Kurt, I'm really sorry," she said. "Are you sorry for what you did or for getting caught?" I asked, wondering which it was. If I were honest, I'd admit I was sorry for getting caught. If I hadn't been, I would have kept going. But I was also sorry for hurting him. "I'm sorry I hurt you,"
she decided to say. That doesn't answer my question, Sue, I replied. I could see her struggling with the real question.
As Kurt confronted me with piercing questions, demanding honesty under the threat of severing our relationship forever, I found myself trapped in a web of deceit. The truth spilled out reluctantly, each admission staining the fabric of our marriage irreparably. His accusations cut deep, each word a reminder of the betrayal that had unfolded over months of clandestine meetings and whispered promises. With each revelation, the chasm between us widened, the foundation of trust upon which our marriage once stood crumbling beneath the weight of my indiscretions. Despite my feeble attempts at justification, Kurt's resolve remained unyielding, his decision to end our marriage a final blow to the shattered remnants of my hopes and dreams. As Kurt's ultimatum echoed through the room, I felt the weight of our shared history bearing down upon me, a history tarnished by lies and regret, yet still tethering me to a love I feared I had irretrievably lost. In the aftermath of our confrontation, the silence of the empty house enveloped me, a stark reminder of the void that now defined my existence. Tears flowed freely as I grappled with the magnitude of my mistakes, the shattered remnants of my life strewn around me like debris in the aftermath of a storm. The ringing phone shattered the stillness, its shrill tone jolting me back to reality. Julia's concerned voice pierced through the haze of my despair, offering a lifeline amidst the chaos of my unraveling world. Her words, laden with disappointment and disbelief, mirrored the tumultuous emotions raging within me. As she grappled with the enormity of my actions, I found myself at a loss for words, my shame and remorse too heavy to bear. With each passing moment, the reality of my situation became painfully clear. The consequences of my betrayal were far-reaching, stretching beyond the confines of my fractured marriage to encompass the lives of those I held most dear. Julia's decision to come home, to stand by me in my darkest hour, was both a testament to her unwavering love and a stark reminder of the magnitude of my failures as a mother and a wife. As I awaited her arrival, the weight of my guilt threatened to consume me, each passing minute a painful reminder of the irreparable damage I had wrought upon my family. In the quiet solitude of my despair, I prayed for redemption, for a chance to make amends, to rebuild what I had destroyed, and to earn back the love and trust I had so callously betrayed.
I just talked to Julia. She's coming home from college to try to save this marriage, but it's beyond saving. 3 years of dealing with Sue's behavior pushed me away, and the fact that she gave another guy what she denied me was the final straw. I don't usually drink, but I felt like hitting the nearest bar. I turned off my phone and left the hotel room, let them try to find me. I spent a couple of hours sipping beer. I wasn't drunk, but I wasn't in pain either. I set my phone alarm for 6 o'clock and listened to my messages. There were a couple from Sue with the usual apologies and 2 from Julia asking to meet tomorrow. I wasn't going to work. I had to meet with a lawyer and handle some banking issues. For now, I was going to sleep it off and hope for no hangover in the morning.
The morning brought a bittersweet reminder of the life I once knew, the familiar aroma of bacon mingling with the echoes of laughter and shared moments that now felt like distant memories. With a heavy heart, I faced the daunting task of navigating the wreckage of my fractured marriage. Calling in sick to work felt like a necessary sacrifice, a small gesture in my desperate attempt to salvage what remained of the life I had built with Kurt. Despite the exhaustion that weighed heavily upon me, I knew that every moment counted in the battle to win back his trust and love. Reaching out to Rachel and Glenn, I left messages filled with a sense of urgency, hoping against hope that they would heed my call for support in this darkest of hours. Yet it was Janie, with her unwavering loyalty and steadfast presence, who offered a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. As we spoke, her words of encouragement and understanding served as a beacon of light in the midst of my despair, offering a glimpse of a future where redemption and forgiveness were still possible. With her by my side, I dared to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, there was still a chance to mend the shattered pieces of my broken heart and rebuild the life I had lost.
After waking up and calling in sick to work, I tackled the day with a sense of purpose. Despite a lingering headache, I managed to handle some important tasks. Opening a separate bank account, settling credit card debts, and arranging funds gave me a semblance of control amidst the chaos. Julia's urgency to meet caught me off guard, her eagerness to intervene in our marital strife tugging at my heartstrings. Over lunch, our conversation delved into the complexities of love and commitment, with Julia offering insights beyond her years. Later, meeting with my lawyer provided a sense of reassurance, though the reality of impending divorce loomed large. The legal implications of Sue's infidelity weighed heavily on my mind, prompting me to contemplate the road ahead. The following day at work, Eric's keen observation of my demeanor prompted an unexpected confession about my marital troubles. Sharing the painful truth with a friend felt like a weight lifted, even amidst the somber acknowledgement of a marriage irreparably broken. As the day wore on, thoughts of Sue's betrayal fueled a simmering rage within me. Channeling my anger into a rigorous workout offered temporary relief, though the bitterness of betrayal lingered like a shadow. Over lunch with Eric, I confided the sordid details of Sue's affair, the revelation casting a pall over our conversation. Yet amidst the turmoil, I found solace in the simple act of enjoying a meal with a friend, if only for a fleeting moment of respite from the storm raging within.
At work, I managed to stay focused despite my swirling emotions. When I returned home to an empty house, the solitude amplified my feelings of loneliness. As I went about mundane tasks like laundry, the ringing phone interrupted my thoughts. Janie on the line, expressing concern over Kurt's reaction to her plea for forgiveness. Feeling guilty for involving her, I reassured Janie, attributing Kurt's behavior to typical male stubbornness. At work, my boss noticed my distraction, offering support and urging me to maintain my usual reliability. Determined to push aside personal troubles, I threw myself into work, finding temporary respite in the familiar routine. Thursday brought an uncomfortable encounter with David, his reproachful demeanor catching me off guard. Despite attempting to salvage our lunch meeting, David's bitter outburst left me shaken. Reflecting on the encounter, I resolved to focus solely on work, shutting out distractions and regrets. Rachel's call later that night brought further anguish, her disappointment and condemnation piercing through my defenses. Feeling increasingly isolated and desperate, I grappled with the magnitude of my mistake, the prospect of salvaging my marriage seeming more daunting by the day. Over the weekend, nostalgia gripped me as I reminisced about happier times with my family. With Thanksgiving approaching, I seized the opportunity to reunite my children in hopes of recapturing some semblance of togetherness. With their reluctant agreement and Janie's assistance, I embarked on a mission to orchestrate a memorable dinner, clinging to the hope of rekindling cherished memories amidst the turmoil of my fractured marriage.
I got a call from the private investigator. He said my wife met the guy for lunch, but it didn't last long. They argued, and she left. It won't change anything in the long run, but it made me feel better. Maybe she really regretted her decision. I spent the weekend looking for an apartment and found a suitable 2-bedroom on Sunday. On Tuesday, I received an invitation from Sue for Thanksgiving dinner at our house. I threw it away. The only thing I was thankful for this year was deciding to end our marriage. Over the next 2 weeks, I moved into my apartment, got furniture from Craigslist, and set up a new home. Rachel called saying her mom asked her to invite me for Thanksgiving, but she understood when I said no. Glenn understood too, but Julia begged me to change my mind. I still said no. Janie didn't call, which was a relief. The Monday before Thanksgiving, I saw Sue's Yukon parked next to my car after work. She got out as I approached, looking well-dressed. "What do you want?" I asked sharply. "I never got a response to the Thanksgiving invitation." "I'd appreciate it if you'd come, and so would the kids," she said. I threw it away the same day I got it. I replied coldly. "I hope you change your mind for the family's sake," she said, her voice pleading. "I already told the kids no. Why don't you invite your lover instead? He won't go to his ex-wife since she's remarried. Maybe he'll go to one of his other women. You know he has 3 others, 2 of whom are married," I said, watching her reaction. Her shocked expression told me she didn't know about the other women. The money spent on the private investigator was worth it. "I heard you fought when you met him for lunch. He didn't tell you about his other women, did he?" I pressed. "Oh, Kurt, can we just forget about it? I'll never do it again," she pleaded. "I'm not coming back to a loveless marriage. Get a lawyer and sign the papers," I said firmly. "I know we can go back to how things were before," she said, desperation in her voice. "It's over, Sue. Get a lawyer," I reiterated. I got in my car and drove away as she stood there. I saw Sue's Yukon parked by my car again. She got out, visibly angry. "You vindictive idiot," she spat. "What? I'm not ruining Christmas for anyone. The kids can see us separately, I said defensively. I'm talking about the families of people I work with. You got your company to refuse business with mine, cutting hours to 32 a week. How can you? She demanded. I didn't do that. Maybe your actions have consequences. Maybe you should have thought about how they'd affect others, I said, my tone harsh. Screw you, she shouted. No, thank you. No more, I yelled back. I got in my car and drove off. She was furious, but a smile crept on my face. I felt a bit guilty in front of her coworkers, but maybe it was what she needed to realize her mistakes.
He drove away, and we resolved nothing. I wish we had talked it over. I drove home in the Yukon, crying the whole way. At work on Tuesday, my boss was on edge. He had a meeting with the president and vice president, which didn't sound good. After the meeting, he announced a mandatory plant meeting at 2 o'clock. In the lunchroom, the president told us we'd have Friday off in addition to Thanksgiving, which made everyone happy. But then he said we'd have every Friday off due to losing a major client, limiting us to 32 hours a week. The mood turned somber. Back at my desk, my boss asked, "Do you know what's happening at 3M?" "Nothing as far as I know," I replied. "We lost the account, which was most of our sales. We have to get it back, find new customers, or downsize. For now, everyone's working 32 hours, he explained. Kurt did this out of spite. Dozens of families are affected, and it's a month before Christmas, I said, feeling the weight of the situation. As the workday ended, I overheard coworkers blaming me. "It's all Sue's fault. She messed up, and now we're paying for it," one said. "Did everyone know?" People glared at me coldly. As I left, I heard coworkers call me a cow and a strumpet. I needed to talk to Kurt. I drove to his work and waited by his car. He was gone again. I was so angry, maybe it was for the best that we were divorcing. How could I make things right? The rumors at work would only get worse. I drove home to my empty house and started baking pies to take my mind off things. I loved baking for my family. I hoped the kids would enjoy Thanksgiving despite their father's absence. I was called into my boss's office. "Sue, I was told you might know why we lost the 3M account," he said, looking at me intently. I looked down, knowing it was my fault. "My husband denies involvement, but I'm sure it's revenge for something I did," I confessed. "What did you do?" he asked, though he already knew. I admitted, "I was unfaithful with David Perkins." "Why?" he asked, clearly disappointed. "I'm not getting younger. When a younger man showed interest, I felt desirable," I explained. "Well, that desire could cost us our jobs," he replied sternly. "I'm sorry, I've been apologizing more this past month than ever," I said, feeling the weight of my actions. "Rumors are already spreading. You'll have a tough time, but I won't punish you for it. Just do your job well," he concluded. "Thank you. I'll try to fix this," I promised. "That would help," he said. At least I kept my job. As I approached my desk, I felt contemptuous eyes on me. I worked harder than ever to prove myself. At 11 o'clock, David called. "I can't believe you did it," he said angrily. "Did what?" I asked, confused. "Your husband retaliated. 3M dropped us as a supplier and printer. Our work hours are down to 32 a week. You'll probably drop us too," he accused. "I wish I'd never met you," I said, regretting everything. "You're the one hitting on married women. I hear you have at least 3 others, 2 of them married," he shot back. "Who told you that?" he asked, surprised. "My husband," I replied. "So he sent letters to their husbands. He's taking his anger out on me. All you women are cows. I wish I'd never met you. If I don't lose my job, they'll give me the worst territory," he fumed. I hung up, regretting ever meeting David. The fallout was hurting everyone.
As I pulled up to the apartment, its emptiness mirrored the void in my heart. Thoughts of Sue's betrayal weighed heavily on my mind, and suspicion lingered about Eric's involvement. Though I planned to confront him, I already sensed his hand in the upheaval. As I sat down to a lonely microwave dinner, Thanksgiving loomed ahead, devoid of its usual warmth and family gatherings. Contemplating spending the holiday alone, the prospect of joining other solitary souls at Pizza Ranch offered a bittersweet alternative. Wednesday at work brought a confrontation with Eric, whose calculated actions revealed a darker side. His ruthless pursuit of revenge left me stunned, realizing the extent of his betrayal. Despite my shock, a grim satisfaction settled over me as I considered the consequences of his actions. With Thanksgiving approaching, I reached out to my children, extending an invitation for dinner, albeit with a stipulation to keep my new address from Sue. Their response remained uncertain, echoing the uncertainty of my fractured marriage and shattered dreams.
I rose early, a blend of restless sleep and Thanksgiving preparations driving me from bed. With a flicker of hope, I busied myself with cooking, though deep down I doubted Kurt would join us. As the children gathered around noon, anticipation mingled with disappointment over their father's absence. Julia's optimism spurred her to reach out to Kurt once more, but the familiar tone of their conversation confirmed my suspicions. He wouldn't be joining us. Resigned, I urged the family to sit down and enjoy the meal together. Midway through dinner, the unspoken tension erupted into conversation. Julia's plea for forgiveness clashed with Glenn's anger, each viewpoint reflecting the complexity of our fractured family. Their questions pierced through me, exposing the raw truth of my actions. Struggling to articulate the pain and regrets, I confessed to my lapse in fidelity, the admission hanging heavy in the air. Their reactions ranged from disbelief to disappointment, each grappling with the shattered image of our once strong family unit. Janie's unexpected defense of forgiveness ignited a heated debate, revealing underlying tensions within the family. Amidst the turmoil, I sought to quell the rising discord, urging gratitude for the present moment. As the discussion subsided, I caught a fleeting glance between Glenn and Janie, a silent exchange laden with unspoken understanding. Despite the rifts tearing us apart, I held on to hope that love and forgiveness would prevail, guiding us through the turbulent waters of reconciliation.
The kids stopped by after spending time with Sue. I was glad to see them, but there was tension. I didn't mention their mom. We talked about school and Glenn's new job. They were adults with their own lives now. As they were leaving, Glenn quietly said, "Dad, I need to talk to you. I'll call you tomorrow." I nodded, wondering what it was about. I spent the rest of the day watching soccer, reminiscing about past Thanksgivings. On Friday, Glenn called. "Dad?" Glenn began. "Hey, son, how are you?" I asked. "Dad, I think I need to break up with Janie," Glenn said. "What? Why? You've been so into her since you met," I replied, surprised. "Dad, yesterday's conversation at Mom's about your divorce made me think. Just because your mom and I couldn't last doesn't mean you should give up hope," Glenn said, sounding conflicted. "Dad, Janie kept saying you should just forgive Mom. She implied that if she cheated on me, I should forgive her too. When I asked if she'd cheat, she said, 'I don't think so, but I can't predict the future.'" "That attitude shocked me," Glenn explained. "I think you two need premarital counseling. You need to be on the same page about this," I suggested. "I don't want to talk about marriage until I have that assurance," Glenn said. "I understand. Think about premarital counseling," I advised. "Thanks, Dad. I will," Glenn replied. I hung up, thinking about Glenn's situation. He had to decide for himself, but I was concerned about Janie's attitude. Would she cheat on Glenn and expect forgiveness? My attorney called. "Sue has hired an attorney and wants counseling to try to save the marriage. The judge will likely order it, so it's best to get it over with now," he informed me. At the psychologist's office, I hoped the counselor would quickly see the marriage was irreparable. The counselor, a woman, asked, "Why do you want a divorce?" "We are estranged and the damage can't be repaired," I replied. "What do you think that damage is?" she asked. "Trust. I don't think I can trust her again," I said. "Communication. We haven't talked in years," I added. "Love. I've lost my love for her," I admitted. "Commitment and fidelity. She devoted herself to another man," I concluded. "What led to this?" she asked. "What was the root cause?" "It started when she rejected my love and closeness. She cut me off," I explained. "Sue, would you like to respond?" the counselor asked. "I still love Kurt. I know the last few years haven't been great," Sue said. "Why?" the counselor asked. "I lost interest in lovemaking. I didn't need or want it," Sue explained. "It was physiological? You went into menopause?" the counselor asked. "Yes, and I had no desire," Sue admitted. "Did you speak to your doctor? Did they prescribe HRT?" the counselor inquired. "I didn't want to take medication," Sue said. "Why?" the counselor asked. "I don't like putting chemicals in my body," Sue replied. "So you discussed it with Kurt?" the counselor asked. "Yes, he didn't understand. He only wanted one thing," Sue said. Kurt, did she tell you her concerns? The counselor asked. Yes, and I told her there were other ways to deal with it besides just saying no, I replied. Like what? She asked. I tried my best, but she dismissed me, I said. So the fighting started around this time? The counselor asked. Yes, she wouldn't even try, I said. And how did that make you feel? The counselor asked. That she didn't love or want me anymore and didn't care about our relationship? I said. Sue, you said you love Kurt. Why were you unwilling to fulfill his needs? The counselor asked. I wasn't interested. His coaxing, pestering, and begging made me resentful, Sue admitted. Sue, physical closeness is a normal part of marriage, the counselor said. That's not love. Love is more than that, Sue replied. Yes, love is more than that, but closeness is part of a relationship, the counselor said. Kurt, what was going through your head during all of this? She asked. After a few months of no closeness, I stopped initiating and waited for her to. I hoped special occasions would bring closeness, but they didn't. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day, birthdays, and our anniversary, nothing. Eventually, I shut down. Our conversations became unemotional and businesslike. We became more like roommates, I explained. Sue, what do you have to say about that? The counselor asked.
The following week, I decided to see a lawyer. I explained my situation and told him I wanted to fight for a divorce. He assured me we could at least get court-ordered marriage counseling. As I left, I felt relief about my future. Whether we stay married or not, I will be able to make my point and be heard. Kurt agreed to see a marriage counselor. We're meeting today. Hopefully, we can work out our issues. I know it won't happen in one session, but maybe with time, we can make it work. I didn't know what to say. Kurt made me look like a cold and uncaring person. I couldn't believe he saw every event as a chance for closeness. It wasn't important to me, so why should it be to him? I began to realize he thought my physical rejection meant I was rejecting him and his love. I felt differently. That doesn't mean I stopped loving you, I said to him. Crap, Sue, Kurt said. You haven't shown love in years. You gave another man what you denied me. How does that show love? You didn't hate me, but you didn't care about me. Now I don't care about you. I'll find someone who makes me happy and who I can make happy. Someone who will show me love every day, including physical closeness. That is the kind of woman I will be looking for once the divorce is finalized. Kurt stood up and walked out. After that, the counselor and I talked, but I wasn't interested. I realized Kurt didn't need me anymore. He wanted someone else because he wasn't happy with me. I had hurt him deeply. I didn't have fun with him, but did with another, younger man. In the animal world, the younger male displaces the older male. Kurt wasn't defeated. He was just replaced. I went home to my empty house. I didn't feel like cooking, so I ordered Domino's. As I waited, I reflected on the past few years. I understood everything now. Kurt had tried to show me his love, but I had turned him down. It was about closeness, both physical and emotional. The doorbell rang. The driver, an older man, looked familiar. Sue Randolph? He asked. Yes. I thought that was you. Thanks a lot. What? I asked. Because you messed up, we all suffer. I'm working this crappy job to make up the difference. Enjoy your pizza, he said with a weird look. I closed the door and looked at the pizza box. Had he done something to my pizza? I threw it in the trash. Since my hours were cut at work, I've become the object of hateful stares and comments from coworkers. Being there was unpleasant, but it was my fault. I deserved it.
The meeting didn't go as expected, but at least I made my point. This might lead to more counseling sessions. Back at the apartment, I sat alone, feeling sorry for myself. I would be alone until the divorce was final, but then I'd find someone who would make me happy and vice versa. While I was wallowing, the phone rang. I thought it was Sue calling to yell about counseling, but it was Glenn. Hey, Glenn, how's it going? I asked. Hi, Dad, he said flatly. What's wrong? I asked, sensing something was off. We're over, Dad. Janie and I broke up, Glenn said. No, that can't be. You love her so much, I replied, shocked. We've been fighting since Thanksgiving. She thinks I'm stupid for expecting her to promise not to cheat. I can't go into marriage with these doubts, Glenn explained. Damn, Sue, I thought. You've ruined not only our marriage, but also our son's potential marriage. I'm sorry, son. I know you love her. You'll meet someone who will be devoted to you in every way. I said, trying to comfort him. Thank you, Dad. I hope you find someone like that too, Glenn replied. Later, my lawyer called. Sue's attorney proposed stopping counseling and signing the divorce papers if we changed the split to 50-50, and the reason to irreconcilable differences, he said. I refuse. She won't cover up her cheating. Remind her attorney we have a photo and the court representative's statement that she was in a B&B with another man. I'll agree to a 50-50 split if she agrees to this, I instructed. I'll discuss it with her lawyer, he replied.
As I sat alone, the incessant drone of the TV offering little solace, Julia's call pierced through the monotony. Reluctant to answer at first, I braced myself for the inevitable cascade of bad news. The revelation of Glenn and Janie's breakup struck me like a bolt from the blue, a stark reminder of the repercussions of my actions. As Julia recounted Glenn's suspicions of infidelity and his insistence on a prenuptial agreement, a sinking feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't shake the guilt that coursed through me, realizing that my own marital woes had unwittingly influenced my son's outlook on love and trust. With a heavy heart, I conceded defeat, acknowledging that Glenn's stubbornness mirrored his father's. Resigned to the bitter truth, I instructed my lawyer to pursue a swift resolution, opting for a 50-50th split and hoping to sever ties with this town that now felt like a prison of judgment. Kurt's refusal to accept the terms stirred a mixture of frustration and relief within me. While the specter of David's assault loomed ominously, I couldn't help but entertain fleeting thoughts of Kurt's involvement, or perhaps the vengeful actions of other scorned spouses. The desolation of my empty house weighed heavily on my mind, prompting contemplation of a fresh start elsewhere. As I grappled with the haunting echoes of my mistakes, a newfound clarity dawned upon me. Accepting David's dinner invitation had been the catalyst for my downfall, a reckless decision born from misguided notions of companionship and validation. In that moment of reckoning, I couldn't help but wonder if another woman, trapped in the throes of marital disillusionment, would make the same fateful choice, oblivious to the impending consequences. If only she knew the gravity of her actions, perhaps she'd choose differently.
Sue accepted the offer. Now we just had to wait for our time in front of the judge. Since we agreed on everything beforehand, it should go quickly. I think about the years we spent together, and I'm still angry about what she did to us. Our whole family will be different now. I wonder if I will ever be able to have a heart-to-heart talk with her.